I think it's fair to say that this week was a pretty big one for Starfield news. With the game going gold earlier today, a timeline of events releasing earlier this week, and now even more information dropping thanks to a Q&A dev dive with Starfield's design director Emil Pagliarulo and lead quest designer Will Shen over on Discord, answering 16 different questions asked by players. And we got some answers to some pretty big questions which were included, with the backstory for the Mechs being revealed, what the serpent worshipping House of Varuun are all about, and confirmation of some returning features from previous Bethesda titles. So in today's video we're running through all 16 questions and all the new information that we learned. Starting with question 1, can we buy houses or property in main cities? A popular feature in previous games is confirmed that you absolutely can, with some available to purchase and others gained as rewards from specific quests. With Emil doubling down on the latter with a cryptic, at least one you get for completing something. Question 2 relates to the optional background kid stuff, shown in the direct footage. Will our Starfield parents be generated based on our character's look, or are there standard parents put in place? Plus, what benefits to this background might there be? And similar to characters like Sean from Fallout 4, yes, your parents will be derived from your custom looks that you choose. They also mentioned that the new face technology that was spoken about in the direct is also being used to create this. Final word on kid stuff is look out for the voice actors playing these roles who really get into it, and yeah, apparently you can get stuff. Some kind of bonus perhaps. Next question, and this one is aimed at new players unfamiliar with past titles, but what information should we know that will make the experience more impactful right from the start? And how deep should we go into creating our character's backstory before we start the game? I think this is perfectly summed up in this quote. As Emil said, we like to look at it less as playing a game and more about living in the universe we created. Starfield is new player friendly, your character will start off in the same spot, and the universe and its features are tailor-made for going at your own pace. It's also interesting to learn that the trait and background system could be left completely blank if you preferred it for that reason. In total anonymity with 0 traits. Question 4, how will the smuggling cargo system work? And can we hide it somewhere on the ship and sell it for more currency later? This has been touched on previously, but contraband items do need to be smuggled past security ships that are in orbit of major settlements. Specific items are considered contraband, meaning that they're illegal everywhere, and special ship modules can be purchased to hide it on board. ML equipping so you don't get caught with those harvested organs, which I'm totally expecting to be a type of contraband. The economy is fixed, but prices of bought and sold goods can definitely change based on the skills you choose. I really like this next question. Will there be a jail system if we commit crimes? And there's confirmation that jails are back, and actually more similar to Skyrim than Fallout 4 in that regard. You can elect to go to jail or pay a fine when you're arrested, or even resist and try to escape. Question 6 was, will time pass when not in the game? For example, will trade routes, outposts and mining operations continue to produce, or does that occur when actively playing? Answer, no, time will only pass while actively playing. Question 7, can you be a double agent in the game? For example, if you join the United Colonies, can you also join the Crimson Fleet and give the United Colonies information? And what factions have that feature if they do? Turns out that all playable factions can be completed independently of each other, and both devs expressed that the Crimson Fleet storyline will actually feature a scenario like this on behalf of SysDef, the military arm of the United Colonies. You can choose to portray either side, with Emil comparing it to the movie Donnie Brasco. How far will you go when undercover? Question 8, depending on traits selected during the character creation, will it be possible to play through the game in a pacifist mode, i.e. without killing anyone or even potentially anything at all? We'll answer this that not every mission could be completed by being a pacifist, but some systems will limit how much violence you will need to dish out to complete objectives. Pretty much Starfield's version of charisma and speech checks, with one system called the speech challenge game, where you can persuade someone to do something like not fight you in a situation. Non-lethal weapons are also a thing as well, which is interesting. And up next, arguably my favourite question of the bunch. Question 9. What are the beliefs and basic history of the religions we can join, i.e. the Sanctum Universum, Enlightened, and Great Serpent? And we got some great info from this. Existing real-world religions do still exist, but aren't really focused on. Instead, these religions are the main ones, and then we actually saw in the beginning of the direct footage options for backgrounds, which include the Sanctum Universum and Enlightened, and these are actually either or. The Sanctum Universum is only a couple of decades old in the timeline, but has gained a lot of prominence. They believe that God is out there, and humanity's ability to travel the stars brings us closer to God. Followers are called Universals, and believe it grav jumps are God's way of saying, I'm out here, come and find me. It's all very interesting, I think, considering the dialogue previously about trying to find answers to everything in the storyline, and also how grav jumps are somehow tied in as well. They continued, and it might actually become clear why these two lock each other out, because the enlightened are essentially atheists who don't believe in a higher power, and rather teach that humans should take care of each other, and they practice what they preach. And saving the best for last, we have clarity on House of Varuun. The great serpent cultist backstory is somewhat revealed, as gossip among the guards as a colony ship sets off for a new world, and while making a grav jump, one passenger claims to have communed with a celestial entity called the Great Serpent. What was a few seconds to everyone else was actually much longer for him, and this character brought back a mandate which is basically get on board or be devoured when the Great Serpent encircles the universe. And it sounds a bit similar to the concept of Jormungandr, but instead of circling the world, stretches across the entire universe. I can't wait to learn more about this in game. Up next, question 10. How many companions total can we recruit? Will and Emil answer this by saying that over 20 named characters can join the crew, with Constellation members being the focus, although every named character will have their own background. Question 11. When we assign crew members to work at outposts, do we have to pay them salaries? And thankfully it's just a one-time thing. It's essentially just a single upfront payment to have people working for you, with the speech challenge mentioned earlier also being useful for negotiating, and some of the traits that you can get can also affect the cost. Next was this question. Will our companions be able to level up their perks, and will their perks stack with ours? All crews start with skills at a particular rank, and they don't level up. However, some of the skills will affect you directly and can stack up with yours when relevant. And the devs made recommendations for perks that relate to ship and combat related skills. Question 13 was a direct one for Emil and Will. What are your favourite parts of the game? Will likes finding new or forgotten content, shining a light on how big the games are, and Emil, having seen every stage of development, pretty much everything, must be a very unique feeling. Or his first answer, which was shipping it. Up next, what books or movies had a big influence on some of the quest lines? On one side, Will has been inspired by history podcasts like Hardcore History and the History of Rome, which I think is interesting considering the propensity of Hellenic statues, and an interesting name choice for the United Colonies capital, New Atlantis. Emil listed Star Wars, OG Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, Buck Rogers, Beyond the Stars, and Ice Pirates, as well as Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, building up to the admission that they have written a lot of very different stories in Starfield for us to experience. Penultimate question with number 15. What are some of your favourite small details in Starfield which add to the immersion? Starfield is NASA punk with a lived-in universe feel, outfits are very textured with an abundance of materials and patches on the suits, and the sandwiches also get another mention, but also the books that we've been seeing in trailers, as there will apparently be a lot of environmental storytelling that the level designers and artists have created. Final picks were a lot of buttons, which we've also definitely kind of seen already in the ship's cockpit for starters, and Emil also referenced the voice acting, music, sound effects, and clothes again. Final question, and this one was a big one, and I think it could be a little bit disappointing, but does add some texture to the backstory. What is the history of the Mechs? We've seen Mechs briefly first in some of the trailer footage, left discarded on a desolate looking planet, but also more recently in the Starfield short animation, where Hope is built, where we actually got to see them in action in the Colony War, and it turns out that this is actually the last time that they were used. As Emil explained, that both sides were using mechs during that conflict, but the Freestar Collective were more proficient with them. And this was fascinating, because the United Colonies, while lacking in their mech department, relied on the controlled alien beasts from their Xeno Warfare division. Fascinating insight, and is something we've seen touched on in one skill where we can actually control some creatures ourselves. Really looking forward to digging around in game for more context about that, but the kicker at the end, during the armistice that ended the Colony War, both of these things were outlawed, which is a shame, and it confirms it would seem that we won't be fighting in mechs ourselves, or at the very least seeing many of them I guess. But we should look out for an old mech battleground, perhaps the one we saw briefly in the trailer. With that though, we've reached the end of the Q&A questions. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the new information we got. I was definitely quite excited by the detail we got for some of those questions, with the story of House of Varuun in particular standing out. Not long to go now until Starfield releases, but we'll have more videos releasing on the channel in the coming days, as I'm currently busy updating my timeline video with some of the info we got today. If you enjoyed this particular video, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. We post a variety of Fallout content, and soon a lot more Starfield content as well, with the release approaching fast. So if you're looking for more Starfield content, turning on the bell icon is definitely the best way to stay up to date. With that said, bye, I'm off. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.